their carcass is being preyed upon by vultures. They're fighting as hard as they can, but they just seem to be devoid of any answers at the moment. I don't think many people predicted Penrith to be in this type of woe, but they've got the arsenal to pull themselves out of it. He's got his DNA all over this rugby league team. The respect that he has is unbelievable. He's a winner. He's just a born winner.
DSPN, the Devlin Sports Podcast Network.
It's BLT, which means Big League Tuesday, and here he is, big fella himself, MG. Mark Geyer joins us. G'day, mate. How are you?
Marty, how are you, my man?
I'm damn good. We've got so many questions. Let's waste no time. Tell me about your struggling Penrith side. And when I say Penrith and struggling in the same sentence, what am I talking about?
Well, yeah, we wanted 4 in a row, but didn't want 4 losses in a row. And there's a few mitigating circumstances, you'd have to say. I think that the loss of Luai and James Fisher-Harris has been felt probably more than most expected. More so for their off-field leadership as well. They bring so much to a dressing room, and it's. I think the fact that we've got no home ground now for the next 2 years is also a point that not many people are discussing that much. Playing out of Combank Stadium isn't Penrith Stadium, no. And a lot of people go, your neighbours. Well, it's 35 k's away. It's hard for people for the likes of the Penrith faithful to get on a bus or a train and travel 35 k's for a home game. So, yeah, a few mitigating circumstances, but still the errors and the missed tackles are all about attitude, and they've got to erase that pretty quickly because they're playing a Dolphins team who will be hell-bent on beating them on this Thursday night coming.
Look, you know as well as any, and because you've been in premiership-winning sides before, as soon as you get that target on your back and the slightest slip, and all of these teams that have been belted by Penrith, as you say, over the last 4 years, 5 years even, are sniffing it now.
Well, they're like a carcass, aren't they? At the moment, everyone wants a piece of them. Everyone can smell blood in the water, and those teams that have been beaten by them, you make a great point, over the last 5 seasons, are out for some revenge, and they can feel that the revenge is going to be sweet because they feel that now's the time to get this team that's been so dominant for the last half a decade, and words escape me, I suppose, because I didn't predict this. I don't think many people predicted Penrith to be in this type of woe. But they've got the arsenal to pull themselves out of it, and if they want to, they've got to do it this Thursday, because this Thursday all of a sudden becomes a massive game in the year of the year of the Panther this year, 2025. This game against the Dolphins is imperative. They've got to win it.
We've talked about it over the years, mate, haven't we? About, you don't want to be below the 500. You don't want to be playing catch up in this competition. It's almost impossible to do it. And I know it's only 5 games, it's 1 and 4, but as you say, 1 and 5. And Mark, this is a team that has lost players over the last few seasons and lost really good big name players that go on to success at other clubs, but has replaced them. Is that run coming to an end, or are we being a bit premature even suggesting that?
Oh, you've got to ask the question, Marty. You've got to ask that question, has it come to an end, because the current plight they find themselves in. But you're right. Since 21, when they lost Kikau and Capewell, and the list goes on of players they've lost over that period of time. Every year they seem to lose a couple of players, plus a coach in Ciraldo, plus a coach in Webster, who is, you can't discount the value that them two guys bring to the outfit as well. So, on the face value, you've got to say that probably it's not the year of the Panther, but that's all about. Look, you'd be a silly person to say that they can't play finals footy, but that's kind of the narrative at the moment. Everyone's saying, well, there goes top 4. I probably can't argue with that, but I would never discount them playing finals footy.
All right, well then, and you're going to hate this. There's a team called the Bulldogs sitting at the top, 5-0, mate, for the first time in 30-something years. 93, I think we go back to. And this is a team as well that has lost a couple of players. Kikau, you mentioned there, obviously. But this is a team that is staunched up in defence. I've been so impressed those last 3 home games. What have they conceded? 6 and 8 and 0 points against the Knights. That says a lot about a team, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It certainly does. And in particular, the bloke who I just spoke of, Cameron Ciraldo, who was called the Minister of Defence when he was coaching at Penrith. He was the defensive mastermind of how their structures were. And again, it's all about attitude. They remind me of a lot of Penrith the Bulldogs remind me of a lot of Penrith 3 or 4 years ago. With that, just they don't seem to worry about how many points other teams will score, or they don't seem to worry about how many points they score because they know that no one's going to score more than them at the moment. Their defence is rock solid, and you're right, they've had some injuries as well with Kikau and Burton being out, and you'd think that that'd be a big depletion for them, but that hasn't been. They've got guys stepping up. Curran did last night. You've got young Hayward playing 5'8". I'm ultra impressed with Preston in the back row. I think he's an Origin player in the waiting, and they look good. They're the form team of the competition, and with the bye looming, they'll be 6-0. So Ciraldo's got them humming, Marty. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a hell of a way to start, isn't it? I want to start at that top of the table. Okay, you've also got the Broncos up there and the Storm, and everyone of us think that the Storm are going to be there or thereabouts, 1 or 2 perhaps at the end of the season. Yet they turned around, lost to St. George. The Broncos went down to the Raiders and lost. Sure, it's only one loss, but it's reflective again, isn't it? We again talk about this, how this competition keeps squeezing up, mate. All of a sudden there isn't a great gap. We saw the Eels win on the weekend. We saw the Dolphins win on the weekend.
If you look at the bottom 3 teams, you've got Eels, Roosters and Panthers. And I dare say that no one would have predicted that pre-season. It's one of them seasons where it's an open competition, and it's probably been the most open it's been in the last 4 or 5 years since Penrith have been so dominant. Any team can win it. Not any team, but there's about 10 who I would say can. Even the Raiders on their day are a great team. They show some tenacity. The Cowboys are one of them teams that are kind of like a hidden giant who just are waiting to wake up from their slumber. The Warriors, they're always a danger team for most, especially at home. Although they've got to get their act together on the road, I would say. It's one of them competitions where at the start of the season we said, okay, well, the top 4 will be Penrith, Melbourne, Brisbane and Manly. I think everyone's, after 5 rounds, everyone's changed that opinion. I think now the Dogs will definitely play finals footy. The Sharks are one of them teams who you can't get a read on. They just seem to be lacking something when it comes to them big games, and I'm not going to blame the halves because they certainly put the icing on the top, but the forward packs are the guys that drive the engine, and they're the ones that set the platform. They're the ones who are steely resolve in their defence. So Sharkies are one of them teams I can't really say will play top 4 footy, but it's the Roosters have been decimated. Obviously in the off season they lost player after player, and then there've been injuries, suspensions, and they're one of them teams that can claw their way back up, and I'm sure Penrith can claw their way back up as well. But we saw some good signs with Parramatta winning against the Dragons on the weekend, the first Golden Point game, and South Sydney are another team that could be anything with Latrell being back now, and unfortunately they've got a couple of injuries as well. But it's Manly without Turbo don't seem to be the same team, and how much of a disruption is the DCE announcement going to play on this Manly Warringah Eagles team? You always say that it's not much of a distraction, but all of a sudden, if I'm a player playing with Daly, and I know that there's extra media rocking up the training, and there's extra interviews, and there's extra questions about him that weren't there a month ago. So now all of a sudden they've got to deal with their best player leading the season's end, and that's hard to get your head around. Even though it's been going on for the last 5 or 10 years, when star players sign with other clubs, this was so abrupt. This has been so nasty that I don't think there's any way to resolve it. I think it's going to be in the back of their mind and the back of their psyche for the rest of the year, and that could come back to bite them on the arse big time.
Look, and everyone that's watching or listening to this is going to think the same. When you're working, it doesn't matter where you're working, it doesn't matter whether you're working in the factory, the radio station, it doesn't matter where it is, a rugby league team. If you want to leave and you're not happy, poison gets in, doesn't it? It just does, man. And you can feel the vibe of the workplace changes. All of a sudden your attitude at work's a bit snarky. We've all gone through this, and I just wonder whether that will actually affect them. The sidebar to that question is Tommy Turbo, as you said. I mean, the poor bloke, trying to keep him on the field. I mean, I saw this stat the other day that I think he's missed more games in one season than Daly has in a whole career. So, it's a manly side that, can play well one week, get belted by the Warriors. I just can't get a read on them, mate.
No, I can't myself, mate. Look, it's yeah, you make a very good point about poison getting in. It does. You don't predict it. And you think
you don't want it.
Training's good. You're getting over it and all that type of stuff, but it gets in. It seeps in somehow, and somehow you just it can't be. It's like a snake biting you on the leg. Now the poison. Unless you get to a hospital within an hour, you're in trouble. Manly, quick, get to Manly Hospital and get that poison sucked out.
The Cowboys you mentioned, I just want to touch on them before talking about the Warriors and that, is that, look, they lose their first three. They just looked all at sea, yet they've bounced back. And that was a really good, tough win against Penrith. That wasn't an easy win. That was a Penrith side that had plenty to play for with Isaiah's, 250th game. They came to play. They played well. It was a Cowboys side that really hung in there, hung tough. What do you expect from them going forward?
Yeah, well, you make a good point, and that's the same with South the week before. You made that point about teams coming to get Penrith. Well, when you are the premiers, I know that when I was a player, you looked at who won the comp the year before, and you circle that round. You go, okay, that's the game. And Penrith have been doing that for 4 years, so they've been the hunted for a while. This year they're being, as I said earlier, their carcass is being preyed upon by vultures, and they're fighting as hard as they can, but they just seem to be devoid of any answers at the moment. As for the Cowboys, well, they are a team with a lot of talent. When you've got a bloke like Jeremiah Nanai coming off the bench, and then the other night was probably his best performance of the season. I don't know what the intricacies were of Toddy Payton putting him on the bench. It's usually the best players start the team, and he's in the top 13 for the Cowboys every day of the week, but it seems to have worked. Drinkwater is a A-class player and would have played Origin in any other era. They've got a forward pack who just do their work. They've got Robson, who's in his. There's a perfect example about poison seeping in. The Cowboys have known Robson's going to go for 12 months, but they don't seem to be playing like they care. They know that this is their last year with their state of origin hooker. And they're going to put in for him. And I think that's the way going forward it always has to be. Penrith knew Crichton was going. They knew Burton was going. These things happen. It's just that I just keep thinking about the DCE thing with the CEO and all the saying that there's a smear campaign and stuff like that. It's just ugly at the moment. Look, the Cowboys they're kind of like one of them midfield teams who could do anything when given the opportunity. The Tigers have shown some stuff in the last 4 or 5 weeks to say that they won't be getting the wooden spoon this year. The Dolphins had a much needed win, as did the Eels. So every team has won one this year. It's just now putting them back together as we leave daylight savings and we head into the winter months.
I was going to ask you about that. Actually, it looks pretty nice at your place at the moment. You're in a singlet. It's nice and sunny. We'd have lost our daylight saving on the weekend, mate.
Yeah, we did too. So, I'm just outside my house and I'm about to jump in my car when I finish here and jump to our family gym where I've got a class to run at 10:15 and put them through their paces. But yeah, mate, it's about 28. It was going to be 27 here today. It's going to be beautiful weather and the sun's shining, the birds are chirping, and that's the main thing, mate. We've got to put things in perspective. It's only a sport. It's only a game. I know we're passionate about it and we love it. And for that 24 hours that our team plays and wins or loses, we vent. We get all our hostilities aside or our jubilant tendencies aside, then we get back on the horse and get ready for another week.
Two things before you go. You mentioned Stephen Crichton. I think I fell in love with this guy last year. What a player, mate. And, I know that Penrith is, losing him is huge, but what he's done for the Bulldogs, what he's brought is just not professionalism, but he's brought him, hasn't he? You can tell I don't know this guy. I've never met this guy. I just watch him on TV. I love listening to him in interviews. I love watching him play. He just seems to has got as much character as he's got ability. Do you know what I'm saying?
I certainly do. He's got his DNA all over this rugby league team. He's a teetotaler. He's a guy who. There's a little anecdote through the week. There was a reporter who wrote something over here about going to Bulldogs to talk to their players and stuff, and he went to talk to Stephen Crichton, and the music in the gym was way too loud. And Stephen Crichton said, "Just wait a sec." So he got something. He had control of the music in his pocket. He's pressed pause on the music. Everyone, hey, he goes, "I'm talking here." Everyone says, "Okay, sweet." The respect,
right.
The respect that he has is unbelievable. He is a premiership winning Like I think he won his 100th game the other day in 125 games he's played.
Wow, what a stat! Great stat.
So he's a winner. He's just a born winner, Marty. And I remember his first grade game back in about 2018 or 17. It was. He ran on the field. His first touch, he chased down a kick and scored. And so welcome to first grade, Stephen Crichton. Yeah. He will go down as one of the all-time greatest centres we've ever seen. He is just he's 6'4", he's 102, 103 kilos. He's got a body like a front rower. He runs like Usain Bolt. And his attitude is fantastic. He's just he leads by example, both on and off the field. He's a very quietly spoken man. A bit like Fisher Harris was as well when he was captain of Penrith, but them type of guys are from the mantra is do as I do and as I say. It's not that often they say much, but when they do say something, everyone jumps to attention and salutes, because it's like the colonel walking in the barracks for the Marines. Crichton is ultra impressive, and you can just see that these players that the Bulldogs love him. At the moment, if you had to say to me, who's the favourite to win this competition, would be them.
Let's finish on the Warriors there, mate. And after 5 rounds, 3-1 with the bye, sitting there in the top 4. If you can be inside the top 8 after 5 rounds, that's a hell of a start. Because as I said, you don't want to be chasing, you don't want to be below the 500. So people very happy here. And I also think, well, hopefully most Warriors fans have a good perspective on it. Terrible game against Canberra and Vegas. But anytime you bounce back in the NRL and you get 3 wins in a row, I don't care who the teams are or how you get those wins. That's the currency that counts, doesn't it? 3 in a row.
Oh, definitely, mate. Definitely. I think the 2 wins at home, I think they would have been favourites to win both of them. But the game against the Tigers at Campbelltown Stadium, that was one they weren't supposed to win. And that's a game with the current climate, with the acquisitions that the Tigers have made, and the Warriors, travelling away, that's the game they weren't supposed to win. They did, and they won ugly, and that's something that you don't associate with the Warriors, and that's what Fisher Harris brings. The Barnett, who was probably one of the first front rowers picked in State of Origin with Payne Haas, he's just he's a beast, and that their whole team has just seemed to, again, you've got to say that Webster in signing, Fisher Harris wanting to go home has been one of the best things that could happen to the New Zealand Rugby League, because I've never heard him speak more than 5 words in all the time I've known him. But some of the stories my young bloke who has been in the system for 3 or 4 years now tell me about him, when he just walks into a gym and everyone just stops and waits to watch what he does, and that just rubs off on people. He's such a great bloke. He's such a humble man. That's rubbing off on the Warriors. Metcalf, gee, I love him. I love Metcalf. He's a player who can be anything. They're a team that we love watching over here. We love when the Warriors come to town, because they bring a flamboyance, they bring a steely resolve, and you're right. They're in the top 8 after 5 rounds, and I really hope they go well, because when the Warriors go well, the Rugby League and the NRL are going well.
And, mate, I can't wait for Origin this year, eh? Doesn't it feel good, mate? Doesn't it feel good, eh?
Mate, I love this. I love this talking to you. Like, look at you. You get a promotion or something. Like, what's going on with you got the backdrop. You've got
man. Yeah,
you got your sign.
It's looking all good, isn't it?
Good, brother.
Thank you so much.
It's looking awesome.
Thank you so much, man. You go and do your class. Always love talking to you, mate. So much respect.
Love you, Marty. Take it easy, buddy.
DSPN.